Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Court Martial Podcast. Introducing your host for this evening first. He is the host with the most from the West Coast, the Bay Area Brawler, Skylar Greenberg. And his partner, he has colonized, energized, and revolutionized the podcasting wrestling world today. Your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tortoises and turtles, and the hairiest of hairs, and everything in between, from the animal kingdom to the plant kingdom, to even the little itty-bitty zooplankton swimming across the ocean. Every single one of those living organisms loves nothing more than to listen to these podcasts made by Smarks, for Smarks, through these particular palettes of Smarks, and potentially the casual fan who accidentally thinks that it's something else. Welcome to the Court Martial Podcast. I am your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty, full of energy, full of coffee, full of DDP yoga. It is a hell of a day. We have got a lot to do, and with me, as always, to do it, the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour. He is the proprietor of the National Wrestling League, hosting their fantastic Hart Foundation Cup here today. The Bay Area Brawler himself, Skylar Greenberg. How you doing, buddy?
Chris Jericho is so fat, Amelia Earhart tried to fly around his waistline.
Oh, man. Oh, man. You know, we don't want to be mean to Chris Jericho. You know, we could be saying things like Chris Jericho's so fat that he has his own gravitational pull. We could be saying things like Chris Jericho is so fat his thighs arrive 30 minutes before he does. We could be saying that Chris Jericho is so fat that he wakes up in sections, but we're not trying to be mean. We're trying to just tell the seriousness of the situation. We wish nothing but the best for Chris Jericho's health.
Chris Jericho is so fat, whenever Fozzy go on tour, they need two stages. One for Chris Jericho and one for the rest of Fozzy.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Well,
we only talk about the truth here on the Court Martial Podcast and nothing but the truth.
That's right. That's right. Even though the entire premise of today is fantasy booking, we talk nothing but the truth. Well, before we get into any of that, we have a new little segment, and it is the Court Martial Podcast announcements. Roll that intro. Announcements? Nani? That's right, folks. It's a little bit of news before the news, and it's just talking about a few things in the Court Martial Podcast scheduling. We usually do this on every show, but we don't really have a spot for it, so we're making a spot for it. And the first thing on that
document... You can sponsor it with a little bit of donation to the Court Martial Podcast Venmo. Thank you.
That's right. Either that or just liking, sharing, subscribing, and hitting that bell button, switching it to all so you can see every time we upload. Every little bit counts. Might as well put the shameless plug in now.
Exactly.
And so we start out by, we were trying to go to Monday nights to compete with Raw because Raw is in a free fall right now. And we'll talk a little bit about Raw in a second, I'm sure. But we have just found, just with this whole stuff going on with my personal issues, I mean, I've documented it before. You all know what's going on with that. And that's going to be kind of something ongoing with my dad. And because of that, and because of other scheduling things, we have just decided that the move to Monday nights is not going to be nixed as quickly as TNA's Monday night run. We are going to postpone it until the first of the year. And we're slamming the door on that approximation, and that's the bottom line.
Because Stone Cold said so.
That's right. So that's going to be, we're moving it to 2022. Honestly, I think it's just easier for both of our schedules, Sky.
It is. For right now, we are doing way too many things. You're busy with your stuff. I'm busy with my stuff. It's hard to record a podcast on a proper schedule. Yeah. But hopefully once we settle things down, we'll be able to go into the flow.
Yes, exactly. And that kind of leads me to the next couple of weeks. Speaking of scheduling, because I actually am taking a part in an opera. It's Carmen. It's by Saltmarsh Opera. I'll give them a shameless plug here because I love doing what I do with them. It's up in Connecticut. It's southeastern Connecticut, one in the Cape. in Old Saybrook and one at Westerly, and I forget the name of the building, which makes this a terrible plug. But in any case, you can look it up on the website, saltmarshopera.org. It's a tremendous organization.
And we can also drop the link to the show in the description.
That's right.
And please, if you're in the area, go attend.
It'll be fun.
It's a good support the arts.
It's a good time. Yeah, this is my 4th opera I've done with them. And they have been incredible to me, and there's a real good sense of community that goes with them. It's a fun time. Even if you don't understand what the hell's going on in front of you, it's okay. It's
like professional wrestling.
That's right. It's exactly. And there's definitely heels and baby faces in the opera. So if you want to see some good old-fashioned storytelling, come on down. But as a result, the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing nothing but blocking and schedule and rehearsals and things like that. So as a result, we are not positive what our release schedule is going to be like. We are planning to have a Court Martial podcast that Skylar and Josh again are going to lead, and it will be my very first Court Martial podcast where I will not be in attendance.
But you will be there in spirit. I'm sure if you want to, you can always send a pair of notes that we will read on air with your unfiltered, uncensored opinion.
That's right, because when I'm on my notes, oh boy, look out. Things get wild.
And Omega Elf has nothing he can do about it.
That's right. Omega Elfberg, he ain't got nothing to do. But in any case, that leads me to the next announcement, which is, because of this whole thing, like I just said, the aforementioned personal things, as well as the opera, as well as just a whole plethora of other things I've got going on, I was not able to finish Atlantic Coast Pro Wrestling this week. And it's just a circumstance. It's just not done. And I don't want to give you half-assed content, ladies and gentlemen. That's not what you deserve. And that's not what I'm willing to give you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do Skylar's typical news segment, and then Skylar's going to present his major show, and it's probably just as well, because my show would not be anything near what this show is going to be, the Hart Foundation Cup, one of your major events of the year.
That, and I promised you, arguably the greatest segment in the history of the National Wrestling League.
So we'll see if he lives up to that hype later on tonight. So Atlantic Coast Pro Wrestling, it's coming. It's just, I've got to postpone it just a wee bit. But believe me, it's a better thing. You're going to get it next time. So gives you more reason to click that bell button, switch it to all, like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And then one final little piece of announcements. At the time of this release, happy 60th birthday, Jim Cornette. From me, who is an avid fan. Jim. It's one of my favorite, he's one of my favorite wrestling personalities right now. I listen to every podcast. He is absolutely tremendous, and good on you, Jim, for making it to 60. Here's to 60 more.
And oh God, 120-year-old Jim Cornette.
He just turns into a wizard. He's just the wrestling wizard. He turns into Oz. Dusty Rhodes was right all alone, baby.
Shut up.
Could you imagine 120-year-old Jim Cornette turns 7 feet tall, gets put into a green cone? That's when Jim Cornette finally breaks. That's when he's like, all right, I'll just play along. When he turns 120 years old.
You officially broken wrestling fantasy by saying that.
So that's when we know he's going to finally cave. But in any event, now, happy birthday, Jim. Jen, sincerely, from all of us here at the Court Martial Podcast, happy birthday, Jim. But now, you've heard enough of me rambling on. It's time to hear my co-host ramble on with some very juicy bits of news. Roll it. Coming straight to you from the Golden Gate Garage, this is the Wrestle News with Skylar Green.
That is right, folks. It is the news of the week. And Sean, do we have some things to talk about from Monday Night Raw?
Oh, we sure do, buddy. We sure do.
Now, I'm going to assume you didn't watch the show.
No, I did not watch Monday Night Raw.
Okay, so I'm going to recap the big thing that happened.
Yes.
So the opening segment had Bobby Lashley come out with a MVP, and Randy Orton comes out with Matt Riddle, and they make for a WWE title match later. And then Big E, the Money in the Bank holder, comes up and says, hey, I could become champion too, so I'm watching this match with interest. Now, here's the problem with this segment, okay? Big E, while making this veiled threat, was making jokes and laughing and dancing along with Matt Riddle. So, keep that in mind, folks. Yeah. They do this match later on with Randy Orton and Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley wins. A little bit of cheating from MVP, but Bobby Lashley wins. And then he proceeds to beat up both Randy Orton and Matt Riddle and then injures his knee. And this gives Big E the time to come out, cash in. They have a little bit of a match, but Big E eventually wins and becomes your WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Well,
now, here's the problem with this. Well, there's two problems with this.
Several problems with this. There's several problems with this. Well, here's my thing, right? I like Big E, the wrestler, when he isn't trying to kill himself with those big-ass dive spears outside the ring, which I hate every time he does. Big E, lately, and this is probably not even his fault because it's WWE and this is what WWE does, I know that they've been trying to get Big E pushed to bigger things and get him feeling more important, but I just haven't been feeling it all year. And this, I know that they gave him the Money in the Bank and that was a great feeling, and at least this didn't end up the way that Braun Strowman's calling out, I'm going to cash in on somebody tonight went. which was not doing anything. They just all kind of ran away and then he got hit and nothing happened. But thankfully,
Brock Lesnar threw his Money in the Bank contract into the Titantron.
Yeah. And that was the end of that. But thankfully, it didn't happen like that. I don't have any problem with Big E, the person, winning this. But I'm not feeling him as a world title guy right now. In comparison to a boss like Bobby Lashley, and I know somebody had to take the title off of Bobby eventually. I just don't think Big E was the guy, especially when the person who you're cashing in on is a heel who is injured, and Big E was not going to get the Dolph Ziggler pop that they wanted, and was never going to get the Dolph Ziggler pop that they wanted. And I think that that's what they were aiming for here with the shock, and I just don't think it worked the way that they wanted it to work, because I just don't think that Big E I don't think he was there yet for this.
There are two issues with this. The first one is the fact that Big E earlier in the night was cutting jokes and having fun and everything, and that's fine.
Being a goof, but
that's not world championship behavior.
No.
That's not what a world champion contender should do.
Right.
And the second thing, of course, is the cashing in on injured Bobby Lashley, which is a heel move. Despite the fact that Bobby Lashley was beating up Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, it's a heel move.
Not that WWE cares about those things. They care about it just as much as AEW does. They've proven that. They've proven that they don't really care unless your name is Roman Reigns. Then they care. But
right. Now, allow me, since I'm in my fantasy booking mind, allow me to fantasy book this better, correctly? Is that okay?
Please do.
So, we know that Randy Orton is the title challenger, but he wasn't really... there was no chance Randy was going to win.
Not with Riddle by his side.
Right. But let's use this as an opportunity to develop Big E more because of his character, right? Yeah. So remember when Bobby Lashley destroyed Kofi Kingston in Money in the Bank, right?
Yes.
Let's take that title defense out. Let's put an ancillary title defense for Bobby Lashley there. Let's have that match against Kofi Kingston at Extreme Rules in the main event. And let's do the same thing with Bobby Lashley beating up Kofi Kingston. Xavier Woods comes out after the match and tries to support Kofi because he was barred from ringside during that Money in the Bank match. And let's have Bobby Lashley beat up Xavier Woods too. Then have Big E come out and defend his New Day brothers. And then he cashes in because he realizes he has the opportunity. And then he wins the title at Extreme Rules in the main event while protecting his brothers.
Well, boy, that makes way too much sense to happen on WWE programming, Sky.
Because then you have Big E defending the New Day, which is character consistent, and he takes advantage of the opportunity that his rage gave him, but it's not in a heelish way. It's in a, hey, the world champion's down. I have this contract anytime, anywhere. Let's do it right now. That's a babyface cash-in style. It's similar to what Bayley did protecting Becky Lynch from Charlotte all those years ago at Money in the Bank when she cashed in.
Right. And then had one of the most blah title reigns of all time, and it wasn't her fault in the slightest.
And actually, that was the beginning of the legendary Bayley long title reign.
Yeah.
But it was not, whatever.
Yeah, sad. But anyway, again, it's hardly ever the fault of the talent, I've noticed.
But the problem with this is that this is all clearly WWE trying desperately to cash in on the opportunity and make a pot for Raw because they're losing to AEW. This is short-sighted. It's quick. It's no development. And really, while it's memorable in the moment, I'm going to forget about this in a few weeks.
I mean, well, and the other problem is like, now where do you take this? What's your plan now? You have Big E and Bobby Lashley at Extreme Rules, I assume. That's what we're going with here. What does this leave Orton and Riddle to do? I mean, they're tag teaming and they're doing all that, but like, they did that massive tag team turmoil that now doesn't seem to mean anything because they were just featured in the main event. I understand the concept of wanting some big moment to happen after AEW has very justifiably so caught a lot of eyeballs and gained a lot of momentum because WWE has been in free fall for some time and no one has ever put them in check.
Right, and part of that free fall issue is the fact that WWE has been so manufactured, which, let's get to that, shall we?
Absolutely. So,
the Wrestling Observer newsletter has said a couple times that they have been banning certain words. WWE has.
Yes, that's a known thing. What these
certain banned words are.
Yes, that's known.
You want to know what the updated list is?
Oh no. Oh yeah, but oh no.
All right, so I'm going to say the words. Some of these make sense. Some of these are stupid. So let's begin, shall we?
Let's do it.
I'll give you the word. You tell me whether or not you agree with it being banned and any thoughts you have.
Okay.
So, blood.
Blood? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to sound a lot like Randy Orton, I have a feeling. Stupid.
Okay. Choke.
Stupid.
Belt.
Stupid.
Strap.
I'm sorry, what?
Strap. STRAP.
Oh, strap. That's so dumb. Kevin Nash says it once and now it's a problem. Fuck.
Yes. Diva.
Okay. I mean, I feel like that's one of those ones where you could it's probably better served as something a heel would say derogatorily against a babyface, or a babyface says against the heel to get a reaction from a heel. It's fine to do it occasionally, but I don't feel like it being used to describe an entire division and how much that word has been bastardized by WWE's past. I don't blame them for that one.
Headshot.
Stupid.
Trauma.
Stupid.
Kayfabe.
That one's fair.
Mofos.
What? What? Why?
Mofos.
Why? Stupid.
I mean, a lot of these are just like, some of them are to try and take out the violence from the sport, which is also another word, by the way, violence. But
yeah, God forbid. This sounds like Jim Herd era WCW. Jesus Christ. We don't want gratuitous violence on our show about gratuitous violence. So we don't want to say the word violence on a violent show where people are trying to beat each other up. God damn it.
Anyways, house show.
Stupid. What if they change the title on a house show? What are they supposed to say then? Oh, at a live event?
Yes. DQ.
You have to say the whole word?
You have to say the whole word, disqualification.
Okay. Stupid.
Final injuries.
Stupid.
Now, wrestler, which is stupid again. WWF, because the World Wildlife Federation is getting on them. Wife beater.
It's a dumb name for a tank top. That's my answer to that statement. Curb stomp?
Yes.
Fine if you have to, but stupid.
Phrases including the words push, being over, babyface, or heel.
Fair. All fair. Don't need to give that to the people.
Job and jobber.
Fair. Also fair.
Kill and murder.
All right. Wait a second. Hold on. Didn't like a year ago during the Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley feud, didn't Bobby Lashley say he was going to put Braun Strowman in the morgue? Well, what the hell different is that?
That's also, well, again, you have to be creative with how you insult people in WWE.
I'm going to put you 6 feet under this patch of soil here where daisies will be pushed up. And you know what I'm talking about. I can't say it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Basically, The Undertaker wouldn't have any promos left if he took out all these words.
Do you notice that they don't want to talk about murdering and death and destruction right after they get rid of the guy whose entire gimmick was murder and death and taking care of the dead?
Because the FCC said you can't do it anymore.
Oh God!
Oh, this is all just weird.
This is all standards and practices, just revamped for 2021.
Anyways, let's move on to some bookings. So Roman Reigns is defending the Universal Championship against Finn Balor at Extreme Rules.
Okay, thanks for coming, Finn.
Because we all know that the real match is Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at Saudi Arabia.
Of course it is. Because, I mean, just realistically speaking, I don't like it because I hate the whole Saudi Arabia deal to begin with, especially because the last time they were there, they were just being held for money for 50 hours or whatever it was. And, we've documented both of our opinions, I think, pretty well about these Saudi shows. But, realistically speaking, where's the money? Is it in... Where is even Extreme Rules being held?
Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere in the States that's not blood money, that's in the millions, which I'm sure both Roman and Brock are going to receive for competing in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, by the way, it's where is this happening? I'm looking this up. Continue.
It's in the swamp. That was where it was last time. We had a swamp fight at Extreme Rules. With a really
it's in Columbus, Ohio, so it's not a swamp, but it is a shithole.
Yeah, okay, so there you go, Ohio. And,
Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, Columbus, Ohio. The Blue Jackets are a hockey team, and that's...
At least it's not Cleveland.
That's right.
At least it's not Cleveland.
Well, their football team's not doing too bad right now, so I'm not saying anything, but I got nothing to say about Ohio. A lot of people hate Ohio. Sami Callihan is a potato. That's all. An armored potato is Sami Callihan.
Sean, Finn Balor will be wrestling as the Demon. Doesn't that make you excited?
That just means that they're going to pin the Demon. Great. Kill another gimmick.
No. It's Roman Reigns. You're going to choke him out or make him pass out.
Yeah, kill another gimmick. Oh, no. I really hope Alexa Bliss doesn't show up. God, could you...
Alexa Bliss is wrestling against Charlotte.
Oh, right. My bad. She's got a title match. God. Oh. And you wonder why.
Remember, you have to book her.
And you wonder why WWE... Oh, no, she's going to be booked all right.
But we're going to move on to the final piece of news, and this is actually something that we can look forward to.
Oh, now, I hope so.
Brock Lesnar has signed, as I've recently reported, Brock Lesnar signed a 1.5-year deal for 8 matches, right?
Yes.
Now, that will take him into not 2022, but 2023 WrestleMania, which is WrestleMania 40, I think.
Where he can do Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns 6? or 7 or 10 or however many we've done?
No.
Unless that is the plan.
No, the plan is apparently to do a passing of the torch at WrestleMania 40 with Brock Lesnar and recently signed Gable Stevenson, the gold medalist winning wrestler from the Olympics. Now, Sean, let me give you more context about this, okay? Gable Stevenson was a protege of Brock Lesnar who was personally mentoring him, and right now he's currently in school at Minnesota to go compete for the national championship and defend his title. After that, he will go on to WWE and train with WWE and eventually debut. What do you think about this plan?
I think that the people who are in charge of Brock becoming who Brock was are not the people who are in charge of Gable Stevenson becoming who Gable Stevenson could be. And I think that alone is going to be... That's being very presumptuous that he's going to be ready for Brock in a year and a half.
Or 2 years.
Yeah, that's taking a bold chance on that kid. And I'm not saying that he won't do well, but you don't know that for sure. He could go in there and wrestle like Mark Jindrak.
Or he could go in there and wrestle like Kurt Angle, which is the obvious comparison.
Or Goldberg. Even worse.
No, but I think Gable Stevenson has the technical wrestling ability that Goldberg never had. And for Gable, it's all about his personality and whether or not he fills out his personality. But I think he can't be like the next version of Kurt Angle. But, well, a bigger version of Kurt Angle because he's bigger than him. Well,
let's hope so. I mean, we all thought that about Chad Gable. And now we're switching Gables.
But Chad Gable was never the... I mean, Gable Stevenson is 6'1", 265 pounds. And he's an Olympic gold medalist. That's different from what Chad Gable was. No offense to Chad Gable, but he did not have the pedigree that Gable Stevenson has.
I mean, that is fair. I'm not discrediting Gable Stevenson either. I just in any case, this is just ballsy on WWE's part. That they even think that they're even going to be in the position to have that match. You know how much could change? How much is changing week to week with these shows? What it's going to look like in a year and a half. I like the idea that they want to plan long term, but there are so many X factors here that could throw something into that. What if he gets a Jason Jordan injury? Then what? Then we go back to Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. You know?
Oh God, I hope to God that they don't do something where Gable Stevenson is the forgotten son of Kurt Angle.
I'm the third son. I'm like, Jesus, Kurt. Oh God, take it easy, Kurt. How
many women have you been with?
Yeah, what a hound dog. But anyway.
Well, that's the blood and the gold medalist.
Well, but there's a reason. There's a reason that man is so revered and respected enough to be the general manager of a quality show like the National Wrestling League. And I think it's time, sir, for the show, the Hart Foundation Cup. I'm still going to say the line, even though I didn't have a show today. I cannot wait to hear what's going to happen next. Skylar, the floor is yours.
And let us begin with the Hart Foundation Cup and hoopla and surprise and fireworks and all that. Anyways, let's go ahead and look at our bracket, if you will.
Yes.
So, the Almighty Crew versus the New Day. AJ Styles and the Club versus Keith Lee and the Bar. KSD, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Dominik Mysterio versus the Fashion Police. And the Motor City Machine Guns and Will Hobbs versus the Mystery Team.
All right. Let's get it started hot. Let's get it started in here.
Well, we're going to start the show actually with a preliminary show matchup. We only have one preliminary show matchup. It is, you're going to love this one, Sean. Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Shotzi Blackheart, and Ty Conti versus the Four Horsewomen.
Go Mandy Rose? Maybe? How long does this go?
The Horsewomen won in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say.
5 minutes.
I was going to say that. Thanks for coming, all of you forgettable ladies. Thank you, Horsewomen. Although it is kind of sad that the Horsewomen are on the pre-show, but in any case, how are you going to fit them in with such a show like this?
Well, actually, here's the thing. The Horsewomen grab microphones, and they have a promo. And Charlotte starts off the promo by thanking the other 4 women for being the warm-up. But now I'm sure you have questions about why we attack these women. And the answer is pretty simple. We are the forceful Horsewomen. We are the best that wrestling and women have to offer. And it's a sad state. We built a standard that no other woman has kept up with. And it's embarrassing. Moving on to Becky Lynch. And we have had enough time. We have stood back and we've watched, and now we're here. We're going to stake our claim in the National Wrestling League. Goes to Bayley. And that's why when one of us wins, all of us wins. And we're going for that championship. Tonight, one of us will be wrestling against Toni Storm, the National Wrestling League Women's Champion. And Sasha Banks steps up, and that person is me. Understand, Toni, you don't stand a chance against me. I am the best in the ring, on this microphone, and all of us, when we win, we all win, but you've never faced someone like the boss. And when I win, the Horsewomen will reign over the National Wrestling League Women's Division. So Sasha Banks is stepping up and will be taking on Toni Storm.
Interesting pairing. I feel like it should be a decent matchup, I would say. And I'm a little disappointed that you didn't try Becky Lynch's Irish accent, although I would be like completely like over the top cartoony with it. But in any case, it's a good segment. I mean, it's one of those deals where does it not feel like, as powerful as these 4 are, with the egos involved, is this not a House of Cards?
Well, we'll see what happens with the House of Cards, but the Horsewomen have one of their 4 ladies competing, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to move on to it was the warm-up match, basically, for them. Anyways, we're going to move on to the opening ceremony of the Hart Foundation Cup. Are you ready, Sean?
Let's do this.
And in the ring is our general manager, Kurt Angle, with the Hart Foundation Cup trophy in the middle. And Kurt Angle welcomes us to the Hart Foundation Cup here in beautiful San Francisco, California. And today is a special day. 8 teams dream of winning this championship to become the main event of the biggest show of the year, Wrestle Festival in November. At stake is a chance at the Tag Team Championships and the World Heavyweight Championship. But only the best team will survive, because a team is what will become the winner. You do not win this with ego or individualism. You win this as a group, like the legendary Hart Foundation used to do. And here, as the master of ceremonies for this event, NWL Hall of Famer, the Radar Superstar, Edge. So Edge makes his entrance.
Thank you, Tony Schimmel. I'm glad you're here.
Trying to do his best. No, do you imagine Kurt Angle trying to do his best Tony Schimmel?
Kurt doing an impression of Tony Schimmel is even better than Tony Schimmel even being there. Although having Tony Schimmel there would be cool, and would kind of fit your style.
He's retired. So Edge is the master of ceremonies for this event, and Edge talks about how, as a Canadian, I always grew up watching the Hart Foundation Cup, always wanting to be like them, and it's an honor for me to be the master of ceremonies and to award this championship to the winning team when we crown the champion tonight. But before we begin, let's go over the rules of the Hart Foundation Cup, shall we?
We shall.
Because we have to have rules in this bitch.
Yeah, anyways, rules are important.
There will be 8 three-man teams competing in the single elimination tournaments. Round 1 matches have a 20-minute time limit, semifinal matches with a 25-minute time limit, and the finals with a 30-minute time limit. Victory is by pinfall, submission, countout, or DQ. Once a team has been submitted, it cannot change during the tournament, and no injury substitutes will be made. The last team standing will receive a National Wrestling League Tag Team Championship and NWL World Championship title opportunity at Wrestle Festival in November.
All right.
So we're going to begin with MCM versus Will Hobbs versus the mystery team. And folks, I'm sure you're wondering who that mystery opponent is. Let me introduce you to the captains of that team, Daniel Bryan.
Oh, look who's back.
And Daniel Bryan's music goes off as the fans chant, yes, yes,
crowd's pumped.
Yes. And out comes Roman Reigns.
What?
And Roman Reigns to Daniel Bryan's music. And this is clearly not what Kurt Angle and Edge were expecting.
What? Oh, that's
so. Roman Reigns is on the stage. Daniel Bryan's music goes off. Roman grabs his championship, holds it up high, and his music goes off, and he goes to the ring. And Kurt Angle and Edge are confused by this. Roman gets in the ring, and Kurt Angle asks, "What the hell are you doing here?" And Roman grabs a microphone and says, "Hold on, Kurt. Edge, I want to congratulate you on becoming a Hall of Famer. Truly, you are one of the greatest of this business. And also, it was a good thing that you retired because we both know if you were champion and I wrestled against you, I would have broken your neck again."
Possible. Also,
and
dick
Kurt,
thing to
and
say,
Edge
but
is squaring up to Roman. And right, I mean, we saw that match of Money in the Bank. Anyways, Edge squares up to Roman, and Kurt Angle has to put an arm between the two of them to back off Edge. And Kurt Angle gets in the middle, looks at Roman and asks, "Okay, answer my question. Why are you here?" And Edge is backing off now. Roman, smiling, says, "I heard that you were going to have Daniel Bryan compete along with a mystery team. Well, I have some unfortunate news." He turns to the Jumbotron, and the Jumbotron shows a pair of people not identified, but in wrestling trunks, and they are destroyed in the backstage area. And you can hear the grunting of men fighting, and the camera pulls up and it sees Seth Rollins holding Daniel Bryan, a bloody Daniel Bryan, while the Usos are giving him gut punch after gut punch. And then they give him a pair of super kicks to the stomach. Daniel goes down to his knees, and Seth Rollins gives Daniel Bryan the curb stomp, and Bryan is out. And at this point, the Usos and Rollins walk off as referees and officials go up to try and help out Daniel Bryan and the unidentified tag team.
Well, that's just unfortunate. So, like, is this tag team like in hoodies, or like how are they? Are they masked wrestlers?
So one wrestler, you can see his legs, but he's basically lying in the stairway of a door, and the other one is hunched over a equipment box thing. And John, you want to know the real reason why I did this?
Why?
It was going to be that, or I have Dave. It was either that, or I was going to have Dave Bryan team with the Young Bucks. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair, but that's really funny. Just seeing just a couple pairs of legs like twitching as Daniel Bryan's just getting the piss beaten out of him. That's a hell of a visual.
work with me on this one, okay?
Thank you. No, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. It's just a funny visual. Continue.
Anyways, so Roman says, "Well, it looks like Daniel's not going to be able to compete, and that's unfortunate." And Kurt Angle is angry at this point. He is fuming. And he says, "What the hell have you done? You ruined this tournament. Now where am I going to find an eighth team? I might as well just strip your ass of this championship, fire you and the War Council, and get you the hell out of my arena." And Roman says, "Why the hostilities, Kurt? I have an easy solution. Unless you want to put in the Young Bucks and Otis as a tag team, why not have Seth Rollins and the Usos compete in this tournament? It will be a fine competition, don't you think?" And Kurt Angle says, "No, you have broken the rules. You violated this tournament. You and your cousins and Seth Rollins are going to get the hell out of this arena, and you're going to give me back this championship belt." And Kurt tries to grab the championship, and Roman just stops him and says, "Hold on, Kurt. Think about what you're saying. Think about what you're doing. You could fire me. You could strip me of this championship. You could crown a new champion tonight. But you know that they're not going to be as good as me because I'm the biggest star you have. Understand this right now. You could fire me, sure, and then I'll be free to do whatever I want. I could leave here and go to the Atlantic coast.
Yeah.
But imagine Roman Reigns versus MJF. Imagine Roman Reigns versus Brian Cage. Or Roman Reigns versus Titus O'Neil. Or better yet, Roman Reigns versus Jeff Cobb. Do you want that, Kurt? Because you know that I don't need the National Wrestling League, but the National Wrestling League needs me. Acknowledge me, Kurt. And Kurt Angle, his anger has calmed down, and you can see he's just been shot. He's just a desperate man. And he says, fine, the Usos and Seth Rollins are in this tournament. Now get out of this ring. And Roman's smiling, walking off, taking basically Kurt Angle's dignity with him.
Wow. Well, you have got my mind working, sir, because of certain things that you said in that promo. You have given me some ideas to work with, baby. To make some major motion pictures and some great wrestling and bring in some good money. And I am very intrigued where this is headed. I think it's always so interesting when Kurt gets so kerfuffled that he like rips off his shirt and he's always ready to go. And it's so interesting to see how much influence Roman Reigns is trying, like the stroke he's trying to use as champion. You don't see that enough in wrestling. Not properly, at least.
Right, but Roman Reigns saying, I don't need you, you need me. And Kurt knows it too. He's the world champion. He's the face of NWL. Roman Reigns could walk out, go to another wrestling company, as I mentioned, and have all types of matches that would excite people, and Kurt can't have that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a desperation situation for Kurt Angle in that respect. You know, there's Edge actually.
Continue.
Edge actually, I'm sure you remember this. He said this in the, not the Broken Skull, but the Stone Cold podcast from 2016 when him and Christian were on at the first time. And Edge, one of my favorite things that Edge ever said is like the key to being a good heel is still telling the truth, but people not liking the way you tell them the truth. Because a lot of the times when Edge was cutting those heel promos, he was a piece of garbage. But there was a little bit of truth in everything he said. And the same applies here with Roman Reigns.
Exactly. And ironic that I'm teasing a Roman Reigns versus Edge match. But we didn't get that during Edge's title run. And you could argue that if Edge had wrestled against Roman, he would have lost.
Yeah, you could. You definitely could make that argument.
I mean, and plus the Money in the Bank match that they had in real life was really, really good up until they ruined it.
Boy, have we not said that multiple times about WWE programming.
But also the other thing, too, is that Roman has got the Usos and Seth Rollins in. But what happens if they win and Seth Rollins gets a world title shot?
Well, that's going to be a bit of a conflict of interest. And that's why I said, you know, how much of this loyalty is actual loyalty from Seth Rollins? I questioned Seth from the start because he's a Waluigi-sounding turncoat, as evidenced by multiple attacks and betrayals of S.H.I.E.L.D. members and the like. So it'll be interesting to see. And now, is that match next?
No, because of the change, we're going to move on to the next match before we get onto this one. So this one's going to be rescheduled for a little bit later.
Got it.
Because now Will Hobbs and MCN needs a game plan against a new team that they were not expecting.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, give him some time to recoup and recalculate the game plan.
So anyways, we're going to move on to the next match that was going to happen. The Fashion Police, Tyler Breeze, Fandango, and our troop in full cop gear versus KSD.
I wonder who wins.
I'm giving this 8 minutes. The finish for this match sees Kevin Owens about to pop up powerbomb R-Truth, and Dominik Mysterio tags himself in, goes to the top rope, does the frog splash, cover 1, 2, 3.
How is Kevin Owens going to handle Dominik Mysterio using a frog splash as well?
How is Kevin Owens going to handle Dominik Mysterio stealing the pin for himself and the glory?
Will Sami Zayn, as a result of being the only frog splashless member of this team, adopt a frog splash of his own in later rounds? Find out this and more.
I hate you.
I know.
But anyways, we're going to move backstage, and backstage is Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre doesn't have a match, and he's interviewed by Renee Young. And Renee Young asks Drew what it means for him not being in this tournament. And Drew just says, well, it's disappointment. I was the world champion last year, and now I'm not the world champion or in this tournament. And I asked Kurt to put me on that mystery team. If I was with Daniel Bryan and some other person, we would have been able to protect ourselves from that Seth Rollins and the Usos. It's just a shame that someone like them has to be in this tournament. But there's nothing I can do about it. And a voice comes out, but what if there was something you could do about it? And here comes Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and the Usos.
He's back.
And Roman asks Drew to take a walk with him. And Drew reluctantly has to go because he's outnumbered 4-1. So they go to Roman's office with him at the head of the table, Seth Rollins next to him, and the Usos guarding the door. And Drew McIntyre sits down and asks, Roman, why aren't I here? And Roman just smiles and says, why are you here indeed? As you know, I was going to have the Usos and Seth Rollins compete, but this guy, touching Seth Rollins on his knee, just got an injury, and it's so unfortunate that he can't wrestle. Isn't that right, Seth? And this is very important. Seth is looking down. He's not looking at either man. You can see his arms, and he's twitching. There's a silent anger there. And Seth just meekly says, that's right, Roman. And Roman looks at Drew again. So I need a replacement for Seth Rollins. And I think you will be perfect working with the Usos in this tournament. And Drew gets up from the table and asks, what's the real reason? You know what happens if I win this tournament with the Usos. So why are you putting yourself at that risk? And Roman gets up from the table and says, it's very clear. I'm the tribal chief, and everyone must acknowledge me. But in order for me to be acknowledged, everyone has to know that no one can stop me. Last year, you beat me at Wrestle Festival, but that was because I took it easy on you. Win this tournament. Face me again. And this time I will show you no mercy. And I will defeat you. And once you acknowledge me, everyone will acknowledge you. And Drew inches away from Roman's face, snarling. Roman confident. And Drew just says, you're on. But remember, when I hold this, touching the championship, it will be your choice, not mine.
I like the back and forth between these two. I feel as though, just based on the formatting of our shows, we have to discuss, to some extent, some of the reasons why Roman Reigns would want to have this, but I feel like that explanation could very much have been saved for your television in the weeks following. In the way, like, here's what I mean by this. When Drew says to him, like, why would you take that threat? Or why would you put yourself at risk? You know, in this moment, if you had the TV to go forward, you could have had Roman Reigns say, oh, Drew, there's no risk. And have him walk off. And then later on, when Drew actually does win it, if Drew actually won it, then you could kind of get into the real reasons why Roman Reigns wanted him there. And, you know, even when that tournament, well, I don't want to spoil it for you in case you're actually working with this. So that's just my thought on that proposed idea.
Again, if I had pay-per-view format only, then I have to do everything on the pay-per-view.
Right. It's our format.
The segment that I say for TV.
Right.
But it's what I have to work with.
It's our format. So no, nothing on you.
But still, Roman specifically wanting Drew to challenge him because he feels that the wrong was made last year and he needs to make it right.
It just goes to show that Roman Reigns is still swallowed with insecurities. And that is really consumed him, even though he exudes this confidence. He has these moments where you can tell that he really believes that this is all very, very fragile. And the slightest thing could screw that up. One person not acknowledging him could tear down the Roman Empire.
And specifically the one person who beat him.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And also, Seth Rollins, he had a world title shot opportunity in this tournament. Now he's not involved, not by his choice. That injury, are we sure it's a real injury, or did Roman force him to drop out?
Well, you never know. I mean, Seth, as I said, Seth has got to be, this has got to be eating Seth up. Obviously, it's eating Seth up. And whether it's an injury or not, I mean, the point stands either way. Even if he got hurt, this would be one of those instances where, you know, Seth would have lost the opportunity to have faced Roman Reigns should that team have won. So whether
I'm going to go ahead and say right now, just to remove the mystery, Seth Rollins is not injured.
Well, that's a shame. That's a shame.
But there's a reason why Roman is doing it, and as has been explained. So Roman is not just a great wrestler, but a master manipulator.
He seems to have a hell of a lot of influence.
Yes, he does. So we're going to move on to our next Hart Foundation Cup match. It's your boys, the New Day.
Here we go.
Except they're not happy, smiley New Day. They angry New Day because they got attacked by the Almighty Crew on the last show.
Yeah, they're all business now.
They're all business now. They're serious. And this match, I'm going to give it 15 minutes between the New Day and the Almighty Crew. The finish for this match sees Kofi and Big E battling with Bobby Lashley and Apollo Crews outside. The legal men are Xavier Woods and Pat McAfee. And Xavier Woods is laying face down on the mat. Pat McAfee is all smiles, going to go for his pump kick. As he goes for the kick, Xavier gets out of the way, rolls up Pat McAfee, 1, 2, 3.
Wow. The New Day have won, and that could not sit well with the Crew that is Almighty.
And they do not, because Eric Bischoff hands each of them baseball bats, and they go to town on Kofi, and Xavier.
Oh, no! Oh, no!
So the Almighty Crew lay a beatdown on the New Day once again, and while the New Day may have won, they're not going to be in good condition heading into the next match.
No, they won the battle, but they may have just suffered the fatal wound that have lost the war.
Exactly. So Keith Lee and the Bar versus AJ Styles and the Club is the next match. And this match goes 16 minutes. AJ Styles and Keith Lee are the legal men, and the Bar and the Good Brothers have been taken out. It's just AJ and Keith Lee. Keith Lee is going for his powerbomb finisher. AJ slips off of Keith Lee. The referee is basically looking at Keith Lee, but he's also trying to take care of the situation outside with the 4 other guys who are on the ground. And AJ hits a low blow on Keith Lee. The referee doesn't see it. And AJ goes for the phenomenal forearm. He hits it on Keith Lee. Cover, 1, 2, 3.
Wow. This is a very interesting tournament.
With a little bit of cheating.
Yeah.
AJ Styles with a little bit of cheating moves on.
That's right. So we've got ourselves a hell of a first 4 teams here coming through and punching their way into the semifinals.
Right. It will be AJ Styles and the Club versus a very battered New Day.
Yep.
And let's go on to the final round 1 matchup, and the one with the most intrigue, the Motor City Machine Guns and Will Hobbs versus Drew McIntyre and the Usos.
Well, let's see what goes on here. Good luck, Powerhouse Hobbs.
And this match starts off with Jimmy Uso and Alex Shelley in the ring. And Jimmy Uso is controlling Alex Shelley. And then he tags in Jey Uso, and Jey Uso takes over and starts taking control of Alex Shelley. Alex finally makes a tag with Chris Sabin. It's not a hot tag, just a regular tag.
Right.
And Jey starts working Chris Sabin. Then Jey tags in Jimmy again. and Jimmy's working with Chris Sabin. Then Jimmy makes another tag to Jey Uso, and at this point, Drew McIntyre is pissed because he's not getting in this match.
Of course.
And he's letting the Usos have it because he wants to be in this match. And the Usos are just playing around with the Motor City Machine Guns. And then Chris Sabin makes the tag to Will Hobbs. And at this point, Will Hobbs starts destroying Jey Uso, the legal man in the ring. And finally, Jey Uso makes the tag to Drew McIntyre. And we got a hoss fight.
Drew McIntyre and Will Hobbs. Such an interesting pairing.
And the both of them are going one for one, punch after punch. And Drew tries to go for a punch, try to win the 1-on-1. Will Hobbs ducks it, grabs Drew McIntyre, hits a beautiful spine buster. Cover 1-2. And Will Hobbs tags back out to the Motor City Machine Guns, and they're starting to work over Drew McIntyre. And Drew finally, desperately makes a hot tag to Jimmy Uso, who starts going off. And the Usos go into their hot tag stuff. The Motor City Machine Guns try and counter. Will Hobbs gets in again and starts laying down Jimmy Uso. And Jimmy makes a tag back to Jey. Jey can't take over because he can't beat Will Hobbs. And they go back to Drew, and Drew this time starts German suplexing Will Hobbs like a mofo. And Drew's going to go for his Claymore kick and begging for Will Hobbs to go up. Jimmy and Jey, they start going to attack the Motor City Machine Guns, and this distracts Drew, who looks at the Usos and tells them to get back to their side. Will Hobbs gets enough time to tag in Alex Shelley, who hits a drop kick on Drew, and he's going to the top rope. And the Usos at this point, they distract Alex Shelley by attacking Will Hobbs and also hitting him. And this gives Drew enough time to grab Alex Shelley, throw him for the top rope, hit the Claymore, cover 1, 2, 3. But Drew McIntyre and the Usos, they may have won, but there was not a lot of teamwork in that match.
No, there was not. Which is the right thing to do with Drew being Drew and the Usos being the Usos. They shouldn't. You know, that's an oil and water team, and they should function like oil and water.
Exactly. Anyways, let's see here. Okay, now that we have settled down a little bit, the next round we'll see AJ Styles and the Club versus the New Day, and KSD versus KSD versus Drew McIntyre and the Usos.
Yes.
We're going to take a little bit of a break from the Hart Foundation Cup and go to the NWL women's title match between Toni Storm and Sasha Banks.
All right, here we go.
Now, Toni Storm is not alone. She's being accompanied by her challenger at the last show, Raquel Gonzalez, who promised Toni on TV that she's not going to go in alone. She has her back. Sasha Banks comes out with Bayley, Charlotte, and Becky, and they all make their way to the ring. And I'm going to use Charles Robinson specifically as the referee, who immediately gets out of the ring and tells Sasha that she can only have one woman with her. The other two have to go to the back because there's no fighting between these women. The horsewomen start protesting as Charles Robinson says, I'm the referee. You get one woman to come out here. The other two go to the back.
Fair.
So eventually Bayley decides to stay with Sasha, and Charlotte and Becky go to the back. So it's going to be Toni Storm with Raquel Gonzalez versus Sasha Banks with Bayley. This match, I'm going to give it 15 minutes. The finish sees Toni Storm reeling from Sasha Banks, who's about to put her the bank statement, but Toni reverses it into the Storm Zero powerbomb. Bayley gets on the apron to complain, but Raquel Gonzalez runs around, grabs Bayley, and hauls her off the apron, allows Toni to hit the powerbomb, cover 1, 2, 3.
Fair. I feel like having the women's title change with Sasha would have been... I know that Wrestle Festival is right around the corner, but it still feels premature considering that this team just formulated last month.
Plus, there's a reason why I had Sasha Banks take the pin, because of the floor, she's the weakest.
It's true. It's true.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like,
no.
I still think Sasha Banks is a great wrestler. It's just that of the four, she's the one that could take the loss.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, no, of those four, I think she definitely... Becky has reached that level where she shouldn't be losing all the time. I mean, she shouldn't be beating people with a really half-assed rock bottom at SummerSlam, but that's not for me to say. And just
that's for another day and another time, Sean.
Yeah, talk about that some other time. And Charlotte's that level of star, and Bayley is really that level of star. Where Sasha was, but the shine is definitely lesser on her than it is the other three.
Right, and even Bayley can take a pin and still not be in trouble because she's such a fantastic heel.
Yes.
Sasha's not bad, but she's not the heel that Bayley is.
Right. For sure.
Plus, while Toni Storm has gotten victories over Charlotte, I don't want to beat that horse into the ground.
Fair. Pun intended, I'm sure.
Oh.
I guess it wasn't. And you're yelling at me for saying the Boss and Huck connection.
God damn it, that was brilliant.
Your words, man.
I just forgot that Charlotte's a horsewoman. Damn it!
What a way. All right, well, we're back to the Cup. Let's keep it going.
Anyway, we're back to the Cup. We're going to go to the semifinals. We have Drew McIntyre and the Usos versus KSD. I'm not going to get into the specifics of this particular match because it's just more Drew McIntyre and the Usos not working well together. But KSD is not working well together either because Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn don't like Dominik Mysterio. So Dominik tries to win the match again. He tags himself in while Sami Zayn was about to go for the hula kick on Drew McIntyre. And at this point, Kevin Owens is furious. He grabs Dominik Mysterio by his stupid shirt and tells him, "You what? You're on your own. Sami, let's get out of here."
Does Sami
and Kevin
go
and
with him?
Sami leave. Dominik is wondering what the hell's going on, but he's got to win this match. He goes for the frog splash on Drew, misses it. Drew hits the Claymore 1, 2, 3.
Well, they're in the finals. And given the state of one of the participants in the next match, I think we may have an idea who they'll face.
Mm-hmm. Now, hold on. I should mention something about this post-match. Kevin Owens is still salty about this and angry because Dominik Mysterio was so incompetent. So he picks up Dominik Mysterio and is going to powerbomb him on the apron, right?
Yep.
And at ringside is our master of ceremony, Edge, who immediately gets involved and stops Kevin Owens. And Sami Zayn's like, whoa, we should hold this back. Edge is checking on Dominik. And Kevin Owens, in his fury, super kicks Edge.
Well, that's going to start something. He's a loose cannon, that Kevin Owens.
Not to mention that Kevin Owens and Edge have history.
They do. They very much do have history.
I mean, Edge won the world title off of Kevin Owens.
That's right.
So Kevin Owens, all of this started because Kevin Owens made his way to the top, beat up Edge along the way, became world champion. Edge made his quest to win the world title, won it back from Kevin Owens, who attempted to injure him in front of his family. And now KO attacking Edge once again, even though he was just trying to do the right thing.
I think I see where you're headed with this, and I am 100% excited. I love this.
Story planning, beautiful.
I love this idea. I love this pairing of teams. If this is where this is headed, I am all for it.
Right. Now, we're going to move on to the other match, which is AJ Styles and the Club versus the New Day. I'm giving this 14 minutes.
Okay.
The New Day try to do what they can, but they're just too beaten and battered. Kofi tries to go for Trouble in Paradise on AJ, misses it. AJ grabs Kofi, hits Styles Clash, cover 1, 2, 3.
So this is a really interesting final because there's one babyface amongst both teams. And that's Drew McIntyre. I mean, considering that AJ has been doing a bit of heelish stuff with the Club, as we've documented.
And AJ's been a heel the entire time for my company.
Yeah, exactly. He's never been babyface. It's just... This is such an interesting set because you have one person to really definitively cheer for, which means that when he does get in, he's going to get an eruption from the fans.
Mm-hmm. This is also in a universe where I have established Drew McIntyre as a babyface through and through, who has not been oversaturated and not been dumbed down.
Well, you gave him some time off as well, which I think also helped considerably. You know, that he had some time to go home and recover from his injuries. He didn't necessarily need to learn a new hold because I like Drew's moveset for what it is. But you've kept the overexposure to a minimum.
Plus, in the semifinals, I had him beat Kevin Owens' team, and those two had a feud.
Yep.
And I had them interact during that match. I didn't have them necessarily interact during the finish, but I made sure that they resolved their problems.
Sure.
Plus, eventually, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, by definition, wins the feud.
Right. Yeah, that pretty much solidifies it.
Also, Dominik Mysterio being a goof.
Well, that's going to catch up to him before too long, man. I feel like there's a lot more to that story than we have heard still.
Yep. Now we're going to move on to the co-main event. It is the NWL World Champion Roman Reigns defending his championship against the NWL International Champion Shinsuke Nakamura. Only for the world title.
Okay, got it.
I'm giving this match 18 minutes, and the finish is Shinsuke going for the Kinshasa. He misses it. Roman reverses it into a spear. Cover 1, 2, 3.
Fair. You don't choke him out. It's still viable. It's not any knock on Nakamura. It's solid. It's what you'd want out of a match like this, where you kind of know the outcome, but you still want a world title match on the show.
Mm-hmm. And Roman Reigns is going to sit up ringside for this main event.
Why wouldn't he?
With the club, AJ Styles and the club versus Drew McIntyre and the Usos in the finals. This is a 25-minute match. And again, the Usos and Drew McIntyre do not work well together. Oil and vinegar, right?
Yep. Oil and water.
And
oil and vinegar is delicious. Oil and water do not work well together.
But here's the thing. After 5 minutes, Roman Reigns gets up, goes over to the corner of the Usos and Drew McIntyre, and Roman tells the Usos, either you guys work with this guy or you're out of the council.
Okay. Interesting.
And after this, the Usos and Drew McIntyre start working well together again.
So they turn it on for Drew because obviously Roman Reigns is after greater things.
And also, they do not want to piss off Roman Reigns.
Of course. Self-preservation.
Self-preservation. So after this, Roman sits back down, and Drew McIntyre and the Usos start working well together again. Although they isolate Jey Uso, and AJ Styles and the club do what they please with Jey Uso. Until finally, Drew McIntyre gets the hot tag, and AJ gets the tag and tries to stop Drew McIntyre. The Usos are recovering on the outside while Drew is a house of fire, suplexing AJ around the ring, suplexing Carl Anderson, suplexing Luke Gallows, and Roman is about to go for the Claymore kick on AJ. AJ counters it, and he tries to get Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson to take care of the Usos. AJ goes for the phenomenal forearm, and as he goes for it, Drew gets up and hits the Claymore kick in midair.
Damn.
Which is a finish I made on the first show.
That's right.
And
I remember
WWE
that.
stole it, so I'm taking it back.
Yes, they did. That's right. When did they do that? TLC?
Elimination Chamber.
Right. I knew it was somewhere. It was in a gimmick match. I just couldn't remember which.
They have too many of them.
They do. They have way too many of them.
But Drew McIntyre gets the pinfall, the cover, and the Usos and Drew McIntyre are the Hart Foundation Cup winners.
Well, but Roman Reigns is still at ringside.
Yes, and Roman Reigns gets up, and he goes to the ring as the championship is presented to Drew McIntyre. And Roman shakes Drew McIntyre's hand. Then he does a click of the fingers, and the Usos start attacking Drew McIntyre.
That sounds
and Roman gets involved too. It's a 3-man stop down on Drew McIntyre. And Drew is left laying in the ring as Roman Reigns and the Usos hold up their titles high.
This is a dangerous squad, but did you notice that Seth Rollins was nowhere to be found?
On purpose.
On purpose. Which means that he was almost guaranteed told to stay in the back, don't get involved. You just sit here and eat your chocolate Oreos. And watch me
why
succeed.
Chocolate Oreos?
Oh, why? Yeah, well, they got those double chocolates. Got the chocolate filling. And
come on, regular Oreos, man. Or double stuff, not the chocolate stuff.
Oh, I agree. I'm my big fan. My fandom is either the red velvet, which are ridiculous, or they had one that was really good that was like blueberry pie once, and I've not been able to find it since because it was just like a summer flavor a couple years ago, but those were incredible. But this is not a plug for Oreos unless you're willing to pay us.
Again, Court Martial Podcast Venmo.
That's right. That's right. But in any case, is this the end of the show, sir?
It is the end of the show.
Well done. It's hard to make and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, it's hard to make a trios tournament feel like wrestling, and you have made it feel like wrestling.
I mean, the thing is that there are stakes. There are clear baby faces and heels and good guys and bad guys, and some of them happen to work together.
And there's a lot of and what I like about this is it's just a quick pairing, but there's reasons behind the pairing, but not all of them are perfect. Everyone is interacting with each other based on their interests, not an overall team interest. Even though it's a team-based style, because there's so many moving parts to this, and that's what makes it really. And I like the idea of Roman Reigns kind of being the anchor of this whole show, kind of being the main, the focal piece that this tournament is presented around, if you know what I mean. Because you have him in multiple segments on the show to pretty much carry you through the show until the end segment, which is, of course, him at the end holding his belts high. So he is a great framing device to make this show really feel spectacular. Well done, Sky.
Well, as you said at the beginning of this whole thing, at the first draft, the best heels make the best baby faces.
Yep.
And Drew McIntyre is a very good baby face, but he needs a compelling heel opposite him. And Kevin Owens is not bad, but he's not what Roman Reigns is.
No. And to see and to have this become a Wrestle Festival rematch, a return match that is going to very much so feel even more important than the first because of what is on the line and what it's meant to accomplish. And I've got to be honest with you, Sky, I'm glad that you're doing this 1-year rematch deal because I was going to, and then I changed my stuff around, so I'm glad we both didn't decide the same idea.
Well, we'll see what happens. Originally, I didn't plan it, and then I just you know what? This makes sense. This is something that Roman Reigns would want as a heel champion.
Yeah. And
I think I could give it to him and make it make sense. Because that's the thing is that why do a rematch?
Right. Well, you've got to have the problem WWE suffers the most is they do rematches when they are never called for. But you have set up a rematch that is not only called for, but is anticipated in a very serious way with serious stakes.
Exactly.
So, well...
anyways, enough of tooting my own horn. I thank you, folks, for tuning in and listening to the Hart Foundation Cup. And I'll see you guys next time.
Well, I'm excited to hear what you've got next time, and you've got me thinking about an idea, and we will talk after the show is over about that. But ladies and gentlemen, what a show it's been. ACPW is coming along the way, but right now, it is time to take our first commercial break. Sky, once again, terrific job tonight. You have exceeded, and I can't wait to hear what you and Joshua have to offer in the next week or so.
Thank you. And everyone, please, if you would, tell me how I did on this show, because this show was a labor of love. Tell me what you did, how I did in the comment section, and please subscribe and share the Court Martial podcast.
That's right. And do it for all of us here, because for when you hear the ACPW, especially with what I've got cooking up for you, you are not going to want to miss that. And the only way you're going to miss that is if you don't do what Skylar just told you to do. And because, as we mentioned at the very beginning, we only speak the truth, it's time to take our first commercial break. Thank you very much for listening every single time you've come to the Court Martial podcast. We're happy to have you here, and we will see you right after this.